Challen Waychoff, and welcome to the Heavenly Water DVD number 4 for understanding the RBTI. We're going to go away from the last DVD we did was a library. We're going to go to a pattern now. Now the patterns in my textbook, the only health guide you ever need, in the index I have listed patterns. These are patterns that Dr. Reams gave to me 40 plus years ago. There's at least 15 listed in this index, such as diabetic, a person on drugs, person going too fast, menopause, nature does not heal evenly. All these patterns are in this index and listed in this book. Valuable information. Now what we're going to do, this pattern's not in my book, but we're going to discuss a pattern, and I'm going to tell you some of the pictures that you're able to see through this pattern very easily. But before I do that, I want to mention 4 things in Dr. Reams' Choose Life or Death. This is a phenomenal book, and it has rules all the way through it, so many. The first item I want to talk about is on page 39, and it discusses in this about the counterfeit RBTIs. Dr. Reams says, we will discuss the Reams biological theory of ionization, or RBTI. This is his Choose Life or Death. And he says the reason that I say the Reams biological theory of ionization is that there are now a number of counterfeit theories of ionization, which is not the one that God gave me in 1931. I would have no objection to anyone using the Reams theory of ionization if it accomplished the purpose of the goal, as was mentioned in the preface of this book. Now you have to be careful. The preface that is in these books that are being sold today are not Dr. Reams' preface. It has been changed. So you need to get the original preface. We have that available if you want the original preface. We also have it listed in our book, The Health Guide, the original preface. So you can see what he's talking about in that regard. Now the second thing I want to do is go to page 79 in his book. Here he talks about the purpose of the Choose Life or Death. He says the purpose of this book is to enlighten the people that it is easier to be healthy than it is to be sick. This is what Dr. Reams says. The third thing is on page 87 of his book, Choose Life or Death. If you go to 87, he says in here, every rule must be memorized and known as the multiplication table is known. This is what he states in here. He also states that once these rules are learned, then these numbers will talk to you and they tell you things. So you have to memorize. Now our level 4 book, we have almost 3,000 rules listed in that book, and it states where they're from. Many of them are from Choose Life or Death. We just have it all itemized for you for simplicity. And the fourth thing I want to mention about this, on page 18 in Dr. Reams' book, Choose Life or Death, he says in here, this is how you analyze these numbers. You know, people would say that he was psychic. People come in my office and say that I'm psychic, and they will also say it's impossible to see what I see in these numbers. But it's not. It's very, very scientific. And he says here on page 18, he's talking about a set of numbers, and he says this condition might have just started a month or 2 before, or it might have started a few years before. But we have reason to believe by the process of deduction that because of this carbohydrate condition and the pancreas is not manufacturing enough insulin and is of a rather short duration. In other words, he uses the process of deduction. By this set of numbers, I am able to deduce something about this individual and what's going on. Process of deduction. Deduction is I call it a mathematical term where A equals B and B equals C, therefore A equals C. So by the process of deduction, I'm able to deduce certain things. Now, those are items I want to bring up. Now, we have all this literature, of course, you saw in our library. We have the Choose Life or Death book available too. Now, the patterns, in my level 5 book, we have listed in here 99 different patterns. Out of each one of these patterns, there's over 650 pictures we have listed for the 99 patterns. On page 6, which is very similar to this set of numbers, we have a pattern. It's called pattern number 3. There are 29 different pictures in that pattern that you can see through that pattern. It's absolutely amazing. But patterns were given by Dr. Reams 40 years ago, and they're in my book so that we are able to deduce what these numbers are saying. Now, let's look at a set of numbers. Now remember, everything's cause and effect. So we have a set of numbers. This is pattern. We're going to call this pattern number 1. It's a male, 24, 5'6", 160 pounds. I'm going to read the numbers off in case you can't see it well enough. Now, the interesting thing about this is from a man that's over in Europe, and he's not able to get the urea test solutions. So he has all the numbers but the urea numbers. But I was able to ask him one question, and from that one question, I was able to deduce what his urea numbers were from the one question. Now, this was taken on a Monday, 11:20 a.m. 3.1 is the sugar. 7.2 over 7.7 are the pHs. 5C is the salt. 4M negative is the albumin count. X over X, the ureas, because we don't know. Now, I asked him one question, and whenever he answered that question, I was able to deduce that these ureas are about 5 over 6, 5 over 7, or 6 over 7. It gives that pattern. That's where it has to be. Now, cause and effect. First thing you look at with this set of numbers, what is this person doing to cause this pattern to be here? There's probably 5 different things, maybe more, that could cause this pattern. One of the things, of course, is diet. Another thing is water. Another one thing is supplementation he's taking. Another thing are drugs that he's taking. Another thing could be sea salt. And there's several other things they're doing. So you have to be a little bit of a detective. There's no way to know exactly what's causing this. So I start off. I ask him questions. Is he on any drugs? No. Is he taking any supplements? No. So that takes those out of that pattern. Now, is he drinking a lot of water? Not a lot. What kind of water is he drinking? Nothing special. All right. So what would cause this? There has to be in the diet. So I said to him, I said, in my mind, I'm thinking there has to be a reason for this pattern. So I said to myself, what would cause this pattern in the diet? The first thing that comes up to my idea is something that's very anionic. What would that be? It has to be bananas. So I said to him, I said, are you eating a lot of bananas? He said, oh yeah, I eat bananas every day. A lot of bananas. I said, that's causing this problem. Next thing, I said, have you been using a lot of sea salt? Yes. I said, sea salt will cause this pattern. You got to get off of that. Now, I went to my book. The secret is in the diet. And on page 15 in that book, it gives me all the no foods. And it tells me the no foods. Number 1 on the no foods is sea salt. You use sea salt, you'll never have a good set of numbers. So I went through all the no foods with him and explained to him what the no foods. We got to get this diet changed. Now, what are some of the things that I would see in this set of numbers? One of the things, his throat's swollen, his tonsils are swollen, he has problems with sinuses. He probably snores like a freight train at nighttime when he sleeps. All right, next thing is his blood's very thick and dirty. His blood's very thick and dirty. His heart, the viscosity of his blood, the viscosity is sticky. The blood's becoming very sticky. And what I see in this set of numbers is a heart murmur. And I see the valve, when it opens, it's like glue. It's sticking to the stickiness in it, and it's wearing that heart out. There's a lot of pressure on the heart valves, and it's wearing it out. And I told him, now this man's only 24 years old, very young for a heart murmur. But I said to him, I said, you're developing a heart murmur. And right away he says, I went to a doctor a short time period before this, and he said I had a heart murmur. I said, well, that's what this is showing. I said, it is a lot of pressure on the valves. Anybody that has, excuse me, anybody that has valve problems in the heart has an arsenic deficiency. You have to put certain things in the diet and get this set of numbers, this pattern to change. What else on this? His joints in his legs are losing the mobility. His ankle is moving less and less. And consequently, many times in the morning when he wakes up, his feet will hurt. Many athletes have this problem, and their bones and their feet break. It's called clay feet. Also, his ankles are not moving right. His knees are not moving right. He's losing the muscle strength in his legs. His calf muscle is in a state of desuetude. He's losing the calf muscle. The calf muscle is getting smaller and smaller. His upper body is getting larger. Back in college, we'd have people that lifted a lot of weights, drank a lot of protein drinks and all that stuff, and we'd call them Mr. Upper Body, because upper body, they were real good. What disease has that characteristic? Muscular dystrophy. Muscular dystrophy. People are built strong up above. Their legs are very weak. They lose the mobility in their legs. They can't move the ankles. They become hobbled. There are many different things on here that you can see. Also, the messages from the brain throughout the body are being compromised. They're off almost 60%. So I asked him, I said, do you find a problem with your hand-to-eye coordination or your foot-to-eye coordination? And he said, oh yeah, I'm uncoordinated. I have trouble with that all the time. I said, well, that's off. There's problems with this. He has a tendency towards hypoglycemia. We could talk and talk and talk about this set of numbers, and there's a myriad of problems with this. But I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things you can see in the system through this set of numbers. This DVD's gone long enough. We'll have other patterns up. The next DVD we'll have out in a week or so. But this is the one that's all we're going to talk about this now. If you have any questions, contact us at Challen at heavenlywater.com or go to our website, heavenlywater.com. You can go to the YouTube videos and we'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you.